Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we featured a regional championship winning team with Yveltal and Registeel, so we'll be playing a couple more games with it today. We're jumping right into today's episode. As you may have noticed, I've had some technical issues lately, and the webcam definitely is contributing to it. Been recording on a laptop rather than my desktop since moving, so might not be a webcam for the next couple of episodes, but I still wanted to get out daily content in the meantime. So thanks as always for watching, for supporting. And if you want to try out this team, there's a rental down in the description below. Huge credits to the original creator, and thank you to them for creating the team. There's also some construction work happening outside right now, so if you hear any of that in the background, I do apologize, but yeah. Either way, let's get into the first game here. Really interesting team. They've got Whimsicott and Ditto as well as Grimmsnarl, so a lot of priority stuff here. Ditto is obviously fascinating. I don't have Fake Out, so basically I have to admit that they're going to go faster than us, right? Zacian's a big threat here. I think Registeel can be really good. So I like Lecky plus Landorus is interesting. The only problem is if they go Whimsicott plus Thundurus, which is admittedly a very good lead from their end. Because typically, against Thundurus, what you can do is lead a Lecky and Electro Web Max Rockfall in the first turn. I might still go with it, because I don't think you're going to one-shot the Landorus. I'll go Arcanine and Registeel in the back here. This is pretty tricky. I think Whimsicott plus Thundurus is a very good matchup against anything we could bring. Yveltal's very bad into this matchup because they have Zacian and Thundurus, and most Thunduruses are either Life Orb or AB. So that's the awkward thing about Yveltal. It does have some very negative matchups against very common Pokemon like Zacian and Thundurus, but the rest of the team is designed in a way to allow you to thrive. So yeah. Either way, thanks as always for watching. It is going to be Whimsicott Thundurus. If you enjoy, please show support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what your favorite thing about your hometown is down in the comment section below. For me, it's definitely the local foods. So, yeah. Okay, it's going to be Defiant Thundurus. I mean, this is tough. This is really tough. But my opponent realized that was their best lead. I don't know what I really could have done. Maybe lead Registeel? I could also hope for them to not Tailwind here, right? And go for an Electro Web. But the thing is, if they Tailwind, I might still be... No, their Thundurus should outspeed us under Tailwind, right? Because I could Electro Web and Rockfall if they get greedy and don't click Tailwind on the first turn. You should always just max Airstream into Landorus here. I guess I could switch Landorus out into Registeel. I don't know how good that actually is for us. I don't think this is my best play, and I'll tell you what my best play was. I actually think the play here was to switch switch Landorus out into Registeel to take the max Airstream, Dynamax my Lecky, and max Lightning into their Thundurus. Yeah, I actually think maxing Lecky was the play in this one. But this is why AV Thundurus is one of the best Pokemon in the format. So I needed to come up with a better game plan, because I was even expecting Whimsicott Thundurus, and I feel like going into this, like, a Lecky plus Landorus is definitely not the best solution. Now, if they didn't lead the Whimsicott, then this is actually a really good way to deal with Thundurus, but Whimsicott plus Thundurus was just so good on my paper, so good on paper here that there was very little reason for my opponent not to lead that. So, job well done on their side to identify the best possible lead and also lead it. And I think that lead really covers every option. Yeah, they do go for Tailwind. Okay. So, let's see. They max Knuckle, though. Probably expecting the switch. So it's really funny, because I was saying, hey, you know, I could switch into Registeel there. I think they were expecting that. That's honestly really huge, because I'm actually just going to get the KO here. Oh, not if we missed the Thundurus. Oh, okay, that was Whimsicott that we missed. So I think that was a very high risk... It was a high reward play for my opponent, because if I switch into Registeel there, that play actually might just win you the game on turn 1. But, because I didn't, we're in really good shape. And the reason I didn't switch there was because I was kind of expecting to survive a +1 max Airstream, especially if it's not Life Orbed. So, we definitely take those, because that's obviously very fantastic for us. Now, I think that my opponent is going to bring in the Zacian right now, but for what looked like kind of a doomed start, it's actually looking a lot better. And that's why you never want to give up, right? Because Pokemon is a game where, like I've mentioned before, it's very hard to consistently make the right plays. And predictions are a part of the game, right? I think one of the toughest things about VGC is knowing when to go for predictions, when you have the room to make aggressive reads, when you have the room to play safe. And so I think that play by my opponent wasn't a bad play by any means. But because we're already starting from behind, I figured like this was just our best play. But it's funny because if we actually went with the Dynamax Lucky play, we probably would have lost the game on turn 1, and they might have expected that. So I don't think my opponent's play to Max Knuckle there was, like a poor decision by any means. Let's go into Arcanine here, and I think I actually like Max Guarding. It burns a turn of Tailwind, I get Arcanine safely, and I get an Intimidate onto Zacian. I suppose the only fear here is if they go for a substitute with Zacian, but I think if you're my opponent, you're going to want to double up onto the Landorus slot right now. I guess the question is whether or not Behemoth Blade plus Moonblast KOs Landorus. I think I'd rather Max Guard, to be honest. And then I can, Max Airstream and Flamethrower into Zacian. Arcanine's honestly, I really like it on this team because it is quite good against Zacian specifically. So, that's nice. Construction happening outside is a little bit loud, so I do apologize about that. I hope it doesn't come through too much. But I think Landorus is, such a clear target right now for my opponent. Yep, there's Behemoth Blade. Perfect. And I'd expect... Okay, it's Dazzling Gleam. That's actually really good to know they're Dazzling Gleam, because now I actually don't think Behemoth Blade into Dazzle KOs. I don't want Tailwind to go up again. One of the great things about Regieleki is its ability to Electro Web everything, right? So, this is an interesting game, because I did not bring my Dynamax Pokemon. Sorry, I didn't bring my restricted Pokemon, but it just didn't make a lot of sense, right? Yeah, Registeel feels better on paper here. So, in this position, let's see. There's 3 turns of Sand, last turn of Dynamax, 2 turns of Tailwind. I think it's fine to just go for a Flamethrower here onto the Whimsicott and a Max Airstream into it. Zacian might Protect. I like the idea of getting a Speed Boost on my Pokemon right now. Ooh. Helping Hand. Okay. That will probably KO us then, I would think, right? Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. That is a great attack to have. And yeah, that's enough for a KO. So powerful. So Landorus will faint. That definitely gets my opponent back into the game, and there was honestly an argument to be made to have switched out there. Either way, though, my opponent only has 1 more turn of Tailwind left, and it's good that we've been able to get the Intimidate off onto the Zacian. Wait. Oh, but it's eject button. Wait, that's huge. The fact that Whimsicott survives and gets ejected out keeps my opponent in this game for sure. Feels kind of inexcusable to lose this game after turn 1, but they bring in Ditto, and I've never seen that interaction before. Ditto does not get to transform because there's no Pokemon out on the field. Okay. So does it transform now when I bring out Registeel? I've actually literally never seen this interaction before. I guess we're about to find out. Wow. I've never seen that interaction before, where Ditto has nothing to transform into when it's switched out. No, it doesn't transform. No way. Wow. Okay. If you're my opponent, I think what you do is you switch your Ditto out right now. I guess you could also just click transform. Would you really transform in this position? And I can Flamethrower into this thing. I really want to Will-O-Wisp into Zacian though, but it might sub. Should probably treat it respect to Sword Stance. I think sub here is so I like switching into a Lecky here, and then going for a. I'm just gonna body press here because I don't think defense boosts are really that helpful for us right now. If Zacian has Sacred Sword, I guess Ditto could just straight up click transform right now though. And they do. Okay, it's just Sacred Sword coming into us. Oh my gosh. Wait, they transform into the Zacian. I didn't even think about the self-transform. That was sick. Honestly, my opponent deserves to win this one. This is such an interesting game. Okay. And the thing is, they actually get the boost there. That actually, the fact we didn't KO Whimsicott was actually such a big bummer. So Tailwind's over now, so I can at least Electro Web, but they might be scarfed, right? Although, no, there's Zacian attacked first. So I can Electro Web here and I guess Protect and then bring in Arcanine, but I think now that my opponent has 2 Zacians on the field, I'm probably actually going to lose the game. So yeah, I didn't really know what to do against the Ditto here, and I obviously should have expected Transform. Not sure if Flamethrower would have saved me there anyway, but the reason I switched out was because I was expecting Ditto to switch out into Whimsicott. But yeah, I never even thought about the self-transform play, just because like Ditto so frequently transforms to whatever's on the opposing side of the field, right? So that's fascinating. That's really, really cool. Okay, we will get an Electro Web off, so maybe Arcanine can still save us in this late game. It's going to be really close, honestly, but I think it favors my opponent. The good thing is we will get another Intimidate off as we come in. Sacred Sword, first one into Registeel, and the second one into Lucky, yeah. I actually could have just attacked with Registeel there then, right? I should have, because there were 2 turns of Sand. Sorry, that was the last turn of Sand, so for that reason, we actually had the room to attack with Registeel in that position. And we oh, actually, I guess they did have the attack boost, though, so maybe not. But I think had we KO'd Whimsicott through Flamethrower, I also had the opportunity to Will-O-Wisp the opposing Zacian. I did not. And I'm not sure we outspeed Zacian, even though they're at -1 speed. So that's the other part of the problem right now. How fast is our Arcanine again? Either way, this is a really interesting game. I definitely kind of misplayed. Oh, we are max speed, though. Okay. Wait, that's actually really good. So you are at -1. This is -1 speed. I think we go for the Flamethrower here onto this one and go for the Body Press onto this one. The Helping Hand was huge here because I thought Landorus would have just won me the game on turn 3 of our Dynamax. So I didn't expect Helping Hand. I love Helping Hand on Whimsicott because of the fact that there's so much Fake Out in the format. But yeah, this was not a matchup for Yveltal. We will outspeed the Ditto. Is Flamethrower enough? Okay, that's good. But 2 Zacians is certainly a sight to behold. Ooh, Crunch. That's interesting. But that barely does anything. Nice. And we don't get a defense drop. Okay, so I think we're probably still good in this game. But this was definitely one of the most interesting games I've played in a while. Turn 1 was huge, though. I think like that Thundurus obviously posed a really big threat. You can see how bad Yveltal would have been in this matchup for us, though, right? Like, what am I going to do with Yveltal against a Whimsicott, a AB Thundurus, a Zacian, and a second Zacian, right? The answer, very little that we could do. I think it's fine to just Flamethrower here into Whimsicott, Body Press into... Oh, actually, no. We always double up into Zacian. Well, not always. How do you win if you're my opponent? Like, the only fear of doubling up here is if Whimsicott has, like, a attack like Endeavor, and you Endeavor Protect. We already saw, no, Tailwind, Helping Hand. Okay, yeah. You're going to be Tailwind, Helping Hand, Dazzling Gleam, and Switcheroo. Sorry, because they have Eject Button, we should know it's Switcheroo. Yeah. So we're good here. Fortunately, yeah, this is why Arcanine's great, though, right? Like, because the Regieleki can draw up the speed. I think Arcanine's... Fire-type Pokemon in general are obviously very valuable against Zacian, but something like Incineroar, for example, is often going to get hit first, and takes more damage from Sacred Sword. So, yeah, I think, like, turn 1, we got very lucky to not have got hidden onto Landorus. In the end, my opponent made a really nice play to KO the Landorus. Ditto came out in an awkward position. The self-transform was really brilliant on my opponent's end. But the fact that Regieleki we conserved and got an Electro Web was also a very, very big deal. So, yeah. I thought my opponent played really well after turn 1, but we just had such a big advantage by knocking out my opponent's Dynamax. But you can see the strength of Zacian, right? The fact that it can just kind of get a return KO onto my Landorus with that Helping Hand from Whimsicott and then the Behemoth Blade was, yeah, really, really interesting. Either way, first time playing against 2 Zacians, so that's cool. Alright, next game here. Another Zacian, Lapras, Thundurus team. So these are not the matchups for Yveltal, honestly. I think it's just a Lecky Landorus again. Like, a Lecky Landorus is really strong against this kind of mode. I think, like, what I've learned is you kind of always need to bring Arcanine. The question is whether or not it's Registeel or Feeny, right? Feeny can Calm Mind up, but... which is honestly not bad, but I kind of lean towards Registeel a little bit more here. Because it really can just wall my opponent's entire team if we can take care of the... Zacian, and we have Landorus and Arcanine into Zacian, but it's no surprise that Zacian is, one of the most common restricted Pokemon in the format at the moment, so, yeah. Well, we went up against pretty similar team in the last game of the last episode, right? And I got frozen, but I also kind of played subpar because I didn't bring a good Dynamax option, right? And that was a big problem, so... This time around, I'm hoping... Last time, was it a Eerie Impulse Raichu? I don't remember if that was in the last Road to Ranked or... if that was in a practice game. But either way, I think Lecky plus Life Orb Landorus is a really cool duo. And it's nothing new, right? But the reality is that it can put on a lot of offensive pressure, and chaining Electro Web into a max move from Landorus is really fun, honestly, as well. So let's see. What do we got here? It's going to be Thundurus and Zacian. Okay, this is perfect. This is definitely just an Electro Web max rock. Actually, the reason why Electro Web Rockfall works really nicely here is because I don't have to worry about Behemoth Blade one-shotting if we have the Intimidate drop here, which we do, right? So, even though on paper, typically, like, let's say I didn't have Electro Web, this would be a disaster for us, I'd say. But Electro Web alone changes everything in this matchup. So, we are just going to go for webs here. We're going to max this thing. We're going to Rockfall into Thundurus. My opponent, if I remember correctly, does not really have a safe switch into max Rockfall either. One good play they could make right now is switching Zacian out and intimidating us, right? You get an Intimidate onto Landorus, then you'll definitely survive the E-Webs plus Rockfall combination. So that is a big possibility right now. But all things considered, I think this is a pretty decent lead. Looks like they are going to switch out Zacian, so well done. And it's going to be Landorus, yeah. So that's definitely going to be a problem for us. I think that's definitely their best play because, you know, you want to take a potential max Rockfall onto the Zacian slot as well. So, yeah, well done by my opponent to go for that play. Thundurus maybe protecting or going for a fly, or it's just slower than us, but I don't anticipate it to be slower. Wait, do we even see Defiant? I, like, turned away for a second. That's the stuff I should be paying attention to, because obviously that's a big deal. Thought we did, but like I said, Prankster Thundurus is actually, you know, not an anomaly these days. It's something you might run into. Oh, yeah, it's Prankster Leer. I totally should have caught that. Okay, that's... Is it fine? I think it's still okay. I mean, Leer is interesting, but we'll get a KO onto Thundurus. I don't think I would have changed how I played turn 1 anyway, because, like, it's not like a Dynamax... Sorry, a Prankster Thundurus can do that much into Landorus and Alecki. In fact, the only one option they can do is basically Leer, and I'm not sure I would have ever expected that, because... From Prankster Thundurus, I typically expect Taunt, T-Wave, Eerie Impulse, Thunderbolt. Like, that would be the standard moveset. But that's a really nice play, right? Because my opponent gets their Landorus in and gets the Intimidate off, or sorry, the Leer against us. So now you might bring in Zacian. You could bring in Lapras as well. And then the question is, who do you target? If Zacian comes out, for example, they're going to bring Lapras out. Okay, yeah, that's definitely the correct bring here. So... I could obviously switch Alecki out into the Arcanine. We have Registeel here is very compelling if I can get a boost off, but I still have to worry about the Zacian obviously in the back. Can go for something like a Volt Switch here into Lapras. What do I want to do? Who's going to Dynamax here? If you ask me, I would Dynamax the Landorus here. You could Dynamax Landorus and protect the Lapras, because Max Quake into Alecki is a very safe play. This is a tricky spot to be in. I think I kind of like reading the, let's see who they Dynamax here. Because both of these, like, it makes sense to Dynamax Landorus because you got a defense drop onto my Landorus, but Lapras is just such a good max option that it's probably still that. Yeah, okay. Max Rockfall plus T-Bolt would not have gotten the knockout onto Lapras there. So I think Volt Switch Airstream here is actually fine. I think it'll work out okay for us. Weakness Policy Lapras here could be... Wow, they actually max guarded. That's really interesting. Okay. I don't mind that. I'm not sure they needed to commit a max guard. Like, I thought they could have just protected there. But that's frustrating because I was very close to protecting Alecki. But if I protect Alecki, and let's say Lapras just max resonances in the Landorus, it's a really bad turn for us. Whereas here, at least, you know, I get a speed boost against the Landorus. Another Airstream will KO. I have Registeel to come in. It's going to be a really close finish. The question is, can Registeel pull this late game off for us, basically? Because I'll knock out their Landorus now, right? I can bring in the Registeel right now. And with Registeel, I can go for an Iron Defense immediately. Could also max guard Landorus here. I think I'm going to Iron Defense and Airstream. They could switch Lando out into Zacian. That'd be a good play. Leer was really interesting, but That was a good play last turn. I didn't expect Max Guard, though. I think Protect would have been fine, but I guess they didn't want to take any damage. Unless they actually don't have a Protect. Like, that could be it, right? They have a defensive attack. So... I do think they're going to switch Lando out into Zacian here, so let's see. Okay, they don't. Maybe that's okay then. If I trade Landorus for their... Yeah, if I trade their Landorus for my Landorus, they only have one more turn of Dynamax left. Sure, they get Resonance up, but if I get a Iron Defense off here, my Body Presses are doing a lot of damage, and I have Arcanine for Intimidate and Snarl into Lapras. Unfortunately, I don't think we're surviving this. Max Quake could have been interesting for a special defense boost, but nah, I don't think that's worth it. This is a pretty tricky matchup, and because we knew they weren't Defiant Thundurus, I'm not sure Dynamaxing Landorus turn 1 was the best call on my end. But they got their Lapras in a very nice position, and they got a good Intimidate onto my Lando as well. And their Life Orb Lapras, I think Amnesia there may have been better than... may have been better. Okay. Well, let's see. So here's the thing, right? I can bring in Arcanine, and I can double protect. Double protecting is very safe. The question is basically, how do I do enough damage to win this game? I could also Will-O-Wisp Zacian and Amnesia. They can't win the game off Perish Song right now because I'm slower with the Registeel. So that's not a win condition that's on the table. So you're intimidated. Aurora Veil is up. Sand is up. I can get you to -1 special attack. But you're Life Orb. Okay, let's say they Sacred... Like, the play I lean towards here is Protecting and Will-O-Wisping. But if they have Sub or Protect on Zacian, that's really bad. And I feel like one of the two is likely to come out here, right? Yeah. I want to Amnesia here and Snarl. I feel like I needed to stall out... Yeah, I should have maybe Protected there. They just Sacred Sworded, though. That's probably enough to win the game for them. Yeah, because if I actually just went Will-O-Wisp onto Zacian, Protect Registeel there, I think that's game. But I was expecting Zacian to maybe sub. Well, first of all, let's see who they guys are into, because maybe... No, actually at this point, because I didn't get the burn off. Unless we survive this. No, we don't with... Okay, Protect Will-O-Wisp was the play there, then. This is a matchup I still need to, like, map out a little bit better, because I think we had the right Pokemon here, but we didn't go with the best approach. But if I just Protect Will-O-Wisp and you Protect Zacian, Max Geyser, we definitely just lose. But I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because at this point, if my opponent protects Zacian, they pretty much always win. So I need to hope for them to make a mistake. Because if you sub or protect with Zacian, I'm just going to lose. The Snarl doesn't allow me to survive anyway, right? They could still miss Hydro Pump, though, actually. So this is still winnable. Like, we protect here. They Sacred Sword. I hope they... Yeah. Because we have Leftovers Recovery. That's actually a really big deal in this endgame. But well played by my opponent. Really nicely played. I need to just stall out one more turn of the Max from Lapras. So Max guarding with Landorus honestly may have been the play. Life Orb was very nice to see here as well. That definitely helped out. Yeah, I don't think Snarl was it. Okay, how many turns of... This is why a Sacred Sword, by the way, is such a good attack, right? If my opponent didn't have Sacred Sword, I actually would feel not terrible about this endgame, but they do. And you should expect Zacian to have Sacred Sword. Adds so much damage. Hydro Pump's going to KO if it connects, and it connects. Okay, well played. Snarl was not the play there. I guess it was Will-O-Wisp. And if, like I said, because like let's say oh my gosh, we actually hung on. If Body Press actually KOs here, there's a slight chance. Okay. No, Sacred Sword does way too much. Even if we get like 3 protects off, it's not enough. But you could see how if we managed to get a Will-O-Wisp off against Zacian, then the Sacred Sword just does so much less damage. I guess he'd still have the Max Geysers though. Lapras is just kind of tricky. But like I said, we had the tools to deal with it. I didn't effectively use those tools, and losing Aleki was not a good start, right? But the turn we lost Aleki was tough because I didn't have a guaranteed play to make that turn, I think. So that was a little tricky. Because like I said, I really wanted to protect Aleki, but if I protect Aleki and Lapras just resonances in a Landorus, it seems kind of doomed, right? So How many Sacred Swords can I take? Veil wears off. Actually, even... Never mind. There's really no way out of this. Because even if I get, like, 4 Protects... Yeah, even if I get 4 Protects and survive another Sacred Sword, like, Body Press isn't KOing anyway, so... Not sure if Will-O-Wisp would have absolutely saved me in this game, but it would have definitely given me a better shot. So... What I think my opponent did well in this game is that they didn't just, like, lead Lapras immediately, right? They basically sacrificed Thundurus to get better offensive positioning. And what they were able to do was pivot Landorus and Lapras out onto the field next to each other immediately. So, I think this matchup, while Lapras plus Zacian is hard, it's not unwinnable by any means. I just haven't played it super well. And, you know, that has contributed to the losses that we had both today and yesterday against that kind of archetype. So I needed to utilize Registeel better. I think I was very content with the Pokemon we brought there. Like, I definitely felt like I had the resources to win the game, but I just didn't have good enough execution. And another Zacian team. See, the thing here is that Yveltal is actually very good against everything bar Zacian, so I think we do bring it here. Registeel, on the other hand, is not very good. Landorus is pretty interesting. I have to be a little bit worried about potential Yawn from the Umbreon, though. Feeny has Calm Mind stuff. Arcanine's very valuable here. In fact, we should probably lead it, although I think Torkoal plus No. If I'm my opponent, you have to respect Alecki, so I could see like a Rillaboom plus Porygon being the most likely combination. Calm Minding with Feeny, not a terrible option. Although, if I set up Terrain, I can't burn Zacian, which is actually really valuable for us. If I'm my opponent, what am I leading? I think like P2 plus Rillaboom feels really strong for them. Yveltal plus Arcanine. Alecki in the back. Alecki is good, especially if we can eliminate Rillaboom. I don't want Registeel in this matchup. So Feeny or Landorus? Landorus just into a Porygon seems awful, to be honest. Whereas, like, by bringing Feeny, my opponent has to bring one of Torkoal, Charizard, Porygon, right? It's probably going to be Porygon, but the thing is that Feeny actually kind of wins long-term against Porygon because you can just Calm Mind up against it. So, yeah. This one's definitely tricky, though. I mean, Zacian is going to be the most common restricted Pokemon you're going to go up against just in Series 8, but, you know, as you may have seen in yesterday's episode, Yveltal against, like, positive restricted matchups can just completely crush it. It's going to be Umbreon plus Porygon, which I don't mind too much, but I think the problem here is the potential foul play from the Umbreon and my lack of damage output right now. Because if you're my opponent, you can just set up Trick Room. Like, Snarl Trick Room here is really good, right? Or foul play. Wow. If I actually led Registeel here, it would be so good. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have brought Registeel, because Registeel thrives off positions like this. I didn't even think about it in the time. Alright, I'll go to Tapu Fini here. And I honestly think the best approach right now is to just chip away. We ignore the Porygon, essentially. My opponent will probably... What's interesting here is, like, do you Trick Room? Probably. But if you Trick Room, your Zacian's not going to come out until the end of Trick Room, which means you're effectively playing with 3 Pokemon for a couple turns in your Trick Room turns. So that'd be interesting. Okay. Huh? Holy cow. What? I did not see that coming. Okay. It's a Dynamax Porygon too. I think here you can see how Team Preview alone can be a really big deal because the Torkoal and Charizard scared away my Registeel, and as a result, my opponent was able to lead something that's very anti-Registeel. Sorry, like, Registeel would have crushed it here, right? But, like, oh my gosh. What? Are they just going to Max Strike? What? That was so sick. Oh my gosh, that's a first. Fake Tears Umbreon into Max Porygon 2 Max Strike. Wow. That's all I have to say. Just wow. That's so cool. Okay. Porygon 2 as a max option can be really strong, especially when you don't expect it, right? Fascinating. Very, very cool. Now I can Electro Web Moonblast here. With Zacian in the back, this is looking so bad, because my Zacian answer... I kind of need a Lecky for Zacian, and to be honest, I might even max a Lecky. I kind of want to Calm Mind and... Oh, I can Volt Switch here. Yeah. Okay, Calm Mind, Volt Switch. Because the thing is... like, the Zacian just completely destroys the, Yveltal. Like, let's say I KO, Umbreon here. Let's say I Electro Web or I Volt Switch Moonblast and Umbreon goes down. What do I do, right? The Zacian just comes in. And then what? Like, what's my game plan there? Because I know my opponent's gonna have Zacian in the back, I need to at least come up with some game plan here against it, but... Okay, there's... I mean, I might have just lost Yveltal, actually. Okay, they target Feeny. This is nuts, though. This might just KO, to be honest. That's wild. First time seeing this combo, I have to say, and it is crushing it. It is absolutely crushing it. So, very cool. Very, very cool. It's at my expense, but, you know. Is there any way we can win this? If I protect this thing, they Fake Tears and max the Alecki. I Dynamax this thing. I go for a Max Darkness, get a special defense drop on both of these. Because you're going to Max Strike, so Zacian's just going to come out. Well, I suppose I need to Airstream to counteract this drop. If you're my opponent, what you should do is just Fake Tears, double up into Yveltal, but we should survive that. Right? Okay, let's go for this. Let's Electro Web, Dynamax, and Max Darkness. I think this is still winnable despite the numbers advantage, but this is so cool. First time seeing Fake Tears Umbreon next to a Dynamax Porygon too, that's for sure. And once again, the element of surprise is a very big one in VGC. If your opponent does not see what's coming their way, they can often... You can win off the element of surprise. And as you may remember, we featured a team with offensive Dynamax Porygon too. Literally all offensive attacks, like Giga Impact, Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, I think it was Thunderbolt. And that won one of the Wi-Fi tournaments, right? So the element of surprise can have a lot of value. Now, what I'm going for here, basically, is to KO both of these Pokemon next turn. Sheesh, Max Darkness is so little damage, but we do get a special defense drop on both. So I'm hoping they Fake Tears, Max Strike, Yveltal. What I can do then is Max Airstream. Oh, gosh. Yeah, they did have Yawn, too. Oh, my gosh. That will probably end the game, then. Yeah, there's no way I can win now. Because I'm just going to fall asleep after next turn. Oh. So if I knew my opponent was going to lead this, I would lead Feeny Registeel, because then you can't yaw me, and I would just straight up Iron Defense on turn 1. And after a single Iron Defense, my Registeel does so much damage with Body Press. So I think that's the mix-up I would make. We're going to Electro Web here and Darkness, but that Yawn is going to end the game, I think. Actually, Airstream is better here. Really, really cool team, and really well played. You don't see that every day. Okay. Got the webs off. Yeah, that's a KO. If they didn't have Yawn, I actually think this would have been winnable, because we would have had one more turn of Dynamax with Yveltal, and then we could have gone, like, Thunderbolt, Max... Well, it depends on what their fourth one is, I guess, right? Yeah, that was enough for a KO. I did not see Umbreon, plus Dynamax Porygon 2 coming. So, that was very neat. Was Registeel the bring here? Because I guess you're never going to go... Like, when you see Landorus and Yveltal on this team, you're definitely not going Torkoal and Charizard. And you're not going to bring Charizard, I think, essentially. It was Rillaboom plus Torkoal. Rillaboom plus Zacian. Registeel single-handedly would have won this. But this is a good example of, like, how in a best-of-3 you can make these adjustments, right? Now, I think if we were to play a best-of-3 and my opponent, you know... has best-of-3 experience, like, I think what they would basically do is bring Torkoal instead, because they should realize that Registeel is really good. But this game was definitely over without Registeel with the 4 that they brought. So they 100% won off one really, really cool lead. to bringing all the right Pokemon and basically hard calling me out, saying I don't think my opponent's going to bring the Registeel. So, very, very nicely done. Alright, I forfeit. That was sick. Yeah, honestly, I can't even be mad about that. Like, I think both of the losses today, like, definitely very winnable games. And I like to use these as examples, right? Because obviously no one likes losing. But I always say you can learn a lot from your losses. And I think this is a really good episode that highlights how we had a lot of resources and tools to win. It wasn't just like, hey, we lost because I had no options. I had a lot of options, but I didn't necessarily say bring the right Pokemon or make the right moves. And that's often something that you do want to distinguish when you're looking at your losses, because the reality is I can point to the last 2 games and point out a bunch of different things that I could have done differently. And the fact that I can point out these different things is good because it means I had options. Sometimes players are limited because your teams just don't have options. And that might mean you need to revise your team, maybe try out a new rental team, try out a different team. Because when you don't have those options, sometimes things can get really, really tricky. Because no matter how good of a player you are, if your team is limiting you, then you're not going to just put yourself in the best position, right? Because you just don't have options. But in this game, in these games, like for example, in this game 3, Registeel would have made a big difference. Now, it felt kind of tough bringing that, but I think I should have realized that my opponent wasn't going to go Torkoal and Charizard. And the reality is that Registeel actually can stand up against Torkoal because I can get an Amnesia off, and I do have a lot of things to beat Torkoal with this team. Torkoal Charizard look really bad on paper against everything bar Registeel. So I should have thought about that a little bit more in team preview. I shouldn't have been dissuaded from bringing Registeel in the first place. So, yeah. Either way, I think there were a lot of good lessons to learn from this one. Lapras Zacian is still really tricky. And it's definitely not, like, you know, my favorite matchup to play against with this team specifically, because, like, Yveltal basically was able to do very little today, unfortunately, and that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes when you play against so many Zacian teams. So, yeah. Either way, that's going to be it for this one. So, thanks so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time. All right. Peace.